One of my favorite things about living in the White Mountains of New Hampshire is the fresh, clean smell after a summer rain shower. Up until this morning, I didn't think there was anything that could ruin that smell. But now I knew better. There was one thing: the stench of a dead body. I covered my nose with my hand and tried to tear my eyes away from the body, which was difficult given the unusual graffiti on its forehead. There were actually two bodies lying in the grass, but thankfully only one of them was dead. The other was real estate agent Ophelia Withington, whose eyes had rolled up into their sockets shortly before she fainted after her brain came to grips with the fact that there was a dead body in the backyard of the old abandoned mansion she was about to list for sale. "Ophelia!" I squatted down, feeling a slight sting in my left leg, a reminder of the near-fatal accident over a year ago that was one of the catalysts for my move back to my hometown of Mystic Notch. The accident had left me with a slight limp, a bunch of scars, and a few odd side effects I didn't like to dwell on. Pushing away the wet blades of grass that tickled my nose, I roughly shook Ophelia's shoulder. She moaned, then rolled her head and squinted one blue eye up at me. "What happened?" "You fainted." She scrunched her perfectly made-up face, then her eyes went wide. She covered her nose and swiveled her head toward the body. "Is he?" "Yep." She scrambled up and away from the body. Her face took on a greenish tinge as she turned away, then bent over to serenade me with loud retching noises. I pinched my nose closed and tried to focus on controlling my own gag reflex. A whining sound tugged my attention away from Ophelia, and I looked across the body at the golden retriever who sat patiently beside it. My heart tugged when my gaze met the wounded brown eyes of the dog, which obviously belonged to the dead guy. The golden's mournful whining had caused us to investigate the side area of the house in the first place. If it hadn't been for him, Ophelia and I would have simply gone about our business inside the dilapidated mansion, never knowing someone was lying dead outside. Glancing at the bent-over real estate agent, I felt a twinge of regret at offering to help her appraise the book collection inside the house. I wasn't actually sure why I had offered to help. The collection had been locked away in the house for 50 years and was reputed to include many rare volumes. I guess my love of books had been the reason, rather than any kind of friendship I had with Ophelia, because I wouldn't actually categorize us as friends. In fact, I hadn't even liked the overzealous real estate agent much at all when I'd first moved back to Mystic Notch to live in the large antique Victorian home I'd inherited from my grandmother. Ophelia seemed hell-bent on persuading me to sell it, through her real estate agency, of course, and she was annoyingly aggressive about it. Much to her dismay, I had no intention of selling Graham's house, and up until this past spring, our relationship could best be described as adversarial. She'd been mean, shrewd, and money-hungry back then. But I had to admit, she'd changed a lot since being the prime suspect in the death of our town librarian, whose body I'd also discovered.